Would the congregation please arise? We do have a front row up here as well. There's the front row center as well as the two sides. You may be seated. A perfect fit. Or almost. Thank you, Sister Miller, for that prelude music and your reverence, brothers and sisters, as we've had good company brought into us here to begin our services. I'm Bishop John Berlin, a former neighbor, and both to Matt and Kathy Bekker, and to some extent to Brother DeMoyne and Ann Bekker. But welcome, brothers and sisters, to this service. I apologize for my voice. I hope it'll do better the balance of the service. There is opportunity, of course, to give thanks to many, many people, but in good Bekker fashion, the love that they have has no boundaries. And in reality, although the 7th Ward of the 10th View Stake here in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will be hosting and providing the services today, as well as supporting on the luncheon, many, many neighbors have been helpful and been a real blessing in preparation for these services. And I see some Bekker heads nodding, and so they're saying thank you as well. Thank you to everyone for being here. We welcome those who are joining us via the streaming of the meeting. And as we sat and waited for the family to finish the family prayer and time there with
Our dear Father in heaven, we're grateful for the opportunity we have to gather together to remember and to reflect on the lives of DeMoyne and Pearl Ann Bekker and the wonderful lives they lived. We're thankful for all the lessons they taught us, for the examples they were, and for the impressions they left on our lives. We pray for Thy Spirit to be here with us, so that we can feel at peace and know that they are in good care, and will be reunited once again. And we're grateful for all the love that they shared, and we pray that we'll always be able to remember them, and the love and the care for their family they have, that it will stay. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Thank you, Tyler, for that opening prayer and for mentioning both Lee DeMoyne Bekker and Pearl Ann Bekker, and that this really is a life celebration of two wonderful lives, two people that have blessed our lives and have mentored and been such an example to us. I look forward to the messages that will be shared. We'll first hear a life sketch of Brother DeMoyne Bekker by Lindsay Ficklin, a granddaughter, and then followed by a life sketch of Pearl Ann by Jeremy Bekker, a grandson. We'll hear then remarks from DeMoyne and Pearl Ann's daughters, Deanne Tetzel and Lynn Steinkopf, and then a musical number from the grandchildren. Well, after they sing for us, then we will hear remarks from both sons, Todd and Matt Bekker, and then another musical number from, I want to make sure I have this straight, yes, again from the grandchildren and great-grandchildren, the purple pansies, or little purple pansies. There will be opportunity at that point for remembrances shared by grandchildren, and then I will share some closing remarks. We'll first now hear from Lindsay Ficklin.
Lee DeMoyne Bekker passed away peacefully in his home on Wednesday, July 22nd, 2026, at 91 years old. Thank you. He was born on December 19th, 1934 in Logan, Utah, the son of George Bekker and Laverne Rose. DeMoyne had an older sister, Beverly, and a younger brother, Dal. When he was 14, his parents divorced, and Laverne married Wesley Warfield, who became a stepfather to DeMoyne and his siblings. DeMoyne married Pearl Ann Nunes on August 12, 1960 in the Los Angeles, California LDS Temple, and they had 4 children together. While DeMoyne was born in Utah, he was raised in Alameda, California. He enjoyed participating in various sports, including basketball, baseball, and later semi-pro football. DeMoyne also enjoyed cars and was in a hot rod club with his friends, where they fixed up cars and raced them. Throughout his years in Alameda, he met and spent time with a group of friends who called themselves the Joy Boys. This group of friends remained close and in contact throughout their lives. After graduating high school, DeMoyne participated in the National Guard and served a 3-year LDS mission in southern Germany. He then attended BYU, earning a degree in psychology, followed by Ohio State University, where he graduated with his doctoral degree also in psychology. DeMoyne worked as a clinical psychologist throughout his career, first at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, Illinois, and later at BYU, where he served as the clinical director of the Counseling and Career Center. He provided hours of clinical therapy and internship training at both universities. He also provided consultation at the Menard Prison in Chester, Illinois. DeMoyne couldn't help but support and counsel people. He listened and shared direction and advice to family and friends through roles in church and to anyone he crossed paths with who could use that type of guidance. DeMoyne was a St. Louis Cardinals fan from a young age and shared his love of baseball and that team with his family throughout his life. He took advantages of opportunities to attend games, especially when he lived in Southern Illinois. Another of DeMoyne's hobbies was photography. On family outings and vacations, it was rare to see him without a camera around his neck. He restored many old family photographs and had a family photo gallery hanging on the wall in his home. Throughout his life, DeMoyne was committed to his faith in the LDS Church, and he served in various callings. He had a love for music and often participated in the ward choir and occasionally served as chorister. He also had a passion for genealogy and spent many hours researching family history. He and Pearl Ann served a family history-focused mission later in life. After retirement, DeMoyne and Pearl Ann enjoyed traveling, visiting many places, including Alaska, the Panama Canal, Italy, Prague, Hawaii, and the Azore Islands. DeMoyne was devoted to Pearl Ann, his wife of 66 years, and to his 4 children. He was also a beloved grandfather to his grandchildren and great-grandchildren. He made his family a priority and had close relationships with each of them. For the past several years, he was the primary caregiver for Pearl Ann, devoting his attention to her and moving into memory care with her when it was necessary for her health. DeMoyne was preceded in death by his parents, his brother Dal, and sister Beverly. He is survived by his wife Pearl Ann Bekker and his children, Deanne Bekker Tetzel, Lynn Bekker Steinkoff, and Todd Wesley Bekker and Matthew Frank Bekker. He is survived by 17 grandchildren and 7 great-grandchildren. He is loved and missed by all of us.
I have the unique experience of sharing a life sketch for someone who's still with us. Many people say in the final moments before death, you might see life flash before your eyes, a rapid glimpse of the many moments you've experienced. Pearl Ann Nunes Bekker appears to not have been content with a brief flash, but instead wanted at least a week to dream and remember the many beautiful moments that have been shared with each of you. In this life sketch, I want to share some of the things that I hope that she remembers in these final days. Anne loves beautiful things. She loved to create things, including poetry, stained glass, textiles. She also baked beautiful things, especially bread and jam. She loved to appreciate others' creations and meticulously stewarded those objects across her lifespan. Anne's beautiful things are a living monument to her history, to the people she loves, and the values she holds most dear. In these last few days, I hope she can have glimpses of her favorite antique birthday cards, her nativities, and her Christmas decorations. Anne loves the natural world, especially places where things grow. She spent so much of her time tending her own garden. She stayed adventurous into her old age through campouts with her children and grandchildren. And I hope while she rests, she smells fresh picked apricots, feels the earth of her garden, and hears the sound of rolling thunderstorms. Anne loves to laugh and loved to make you laugh too. Anne had a quick wit and was totally happy to engage in irreverent humor, especially during a roommate game. Even as age and disease have taken her language, Anne has never lost her humor. And I hope she gets glimpses of the teases from her children and grandchildren as she sleeps. Anne loves animals. She was a magnet for cats and dogs and treated these beings with the utmost respect and care. A few animals that I'm certain are happily visiting her in these final days include Molly, Mitzi, Peaches, Ringo, Gopal, Chester the third and fourth, Pepper, Muchie, Archie, Hawkeye, Becky, and Peppy. Annie loved to learn and believed in the power of education, and used her education as a tool to serve others through the direct teaching in classrooms, helping her own children complete schoolwork, and finally documenting her life in her journal. As noted in her obituary, she regularly won arguments using this journal. Her journal was a tool for attending to those she loved, a meditation on the relationships most important to her. And I hope she can dream of a few of those passages as she goes. Anne loved to care for people. Whether through church service, fixing a toasted cheese sandwich, or sharing her roses, she always placed helping people at the center of her life. She was perhaps the best worrier I have ever known, and her worry was an important part of her charm. I hope in these last few days you can remember the beautiful moments she created through caring. Anne loved family and was lucky to have siblings, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren who prioritized family just as much as she did. She once told me that she wished she had a relationship with her kids where they could just talk. She really wanted to listen and understand the people that she loved, and over her lifetime, she became a better and better listener. I hope in these days she remembers sitting at the kitchen table, or sitting in her rickety old chair, listening and being loved. Finally, Anne loved DeMoyne. She told me that when she picked a partner, she wanted someone that she could talk to and get along with, and she certainly found that in DeMoyne. Their relationship is the center of Anne's story. Their lives so intertwined it would be impossible to know one without knowing the other. I hope this week that Anne's dreams are filled with family vacations and family cars, putting up decorations, doing family history work, drinking a Coke, all alongside the love of her life. Last of all, Anne loves little sayings, many of which we all know, and so I thought I'd end with one that I think we all know best, written in her own words. It says, "Nothing goes with nothing. Nothing ever could. But somewhere in my youth or childhood, I must have done something good." And Anne did a really, really good thing.
Thanks, you guys. Those were beautiful. Jeremy and Lindsay. When I was a little girl, we were on one of our trips, and we were riding in the car, and there was a rainstorm, and there was an accident, and there were car after car that rear-ended each other. And in those days, I was in the front seat, in the middle of the seat, and I hit the radio knob, and I looked up at my dad, and I said, "Daddy, I didn't want you to do that." Well, I didn't remember that. Dad told me I said that. But I remember it's one of my first memories of what became a lifelong, feeling of support and care from my dad. I remember getting some stitches and him holding my hand while we did that. When I was a little girl, we watched The Wizard of Oz, and when the flying monkeys would come on, it was scary. But I would climb into my dad's lap, and I would feel safe and protected, and everything was okay when I was there. When we were young, our mom taught us. She shopped for us. She cooked for us, made food multiple times a day. She tried to make it interesting and healthy, and I don't know how much we appreciated that at the time. But I look back and realize that she really was doing everything she could for us, except for maybe on the road trips when she handed back cans of Vienna sausages to us. Open the can, yeah. But it kept us going. So she made sure that we were keeping up with our schoolwork, doing the things that we could do to learn and enrich our lives, from lessons, tennis, piano, horseback riding, all the things that they somehow got us to. We went swimming. We went horseback riding. I remember my mom, we were sitting in our family room on Dixon Street and with the shag rug, and we're on the floor, and mom's ironing clothes, and we're watching Laugh-In, and I remember those times very, very dearly. It was a sweet time. Growing up in Southern Illinois at that time meant that mom had to inspect us for chiggers and ticks. So we had regular inspections when we'd been out at day camp or various other places, and she made sure we were free of those things. So at one point, mom would give Lynn and I our haircuts, and we would stand in the kitchen, and she'd put a piece of Scotch tape across our bangs, and then cut. And they were a little bit high, our bangs, but she got the job done, and we got through those years too. She would comb our hair. We'd sit on the floor in front of her. If you girls want to have long hair, because that hurts, and if you girls want to have long hair, and we wanted our long hair. So she combed our hair. Mom made our school clothes every year. So when it was coming up time to go to school, we'd go to the fabric store, we'd pick out patterns and material and fabric, and she'd lay them out on the living room floor, and it was so fun to get our new clothes for school that Mom made. Mom was really involved with our schools. So one day, Lynn and I had this great idea that we were going to skip school. So we had it all figured out, and I called the office. This is Pearl Ann Bekker. Let's see, was she? No, she was Ann. This is Ann Bekker. My girls are sick today. They're both sick. They're not going to be in. And okay. And so I'm like, Lynn, we're good. Let's go. So we're cruising down the street. We're going to go get donuts or something. And we're cruising along, and we hear this beep, beep. And we're like, oh, someone thinks we're cute. And we turn around, and it was Dad. So there's Dad. Girls, get in the car. So yeah, well, Mom happened to be on the phone on the other line with the school secretary when I called. So when I called and said I was Ann, yeah, they knew that was not her. We made trips to California. We were the family that was in the Midwest, and so we'd jump in the station wagon, and those trips have a lot of meaning and great memories for us. And we'd come out west, and we'd see family and friends, and that smell of the West was just a special thing for us. And we'd celebrate my sister's birthday every year in the West. We'd go to Grandma's house, and we'd eat her homemade bread, eat her apricot jam. I remember talking to my dad one time. Oh, I gotta say something else about Grandma's house. So we'd be there, and it was time to go to bed, right? So we're supposed to be sleeping, and there was a door that closed to the front room, and we'd hear them out there playing rummy and laughing and having fun. And so we'd sneak up there and open the door and peek out, and then they're like, go back to bed. They were out there having a great time with the Noon's rummy rules, which have been passed down. So we're grateful for that. I remember talking to my dad one time about my future, and I wanted to have a career, and I wanted to be a mom. And I was like, Dad, what am I going to do? And he said, you can be both. You can do both, Deanne. And he counseled me and was there for me throughout my life. When I went to school at SIU, and my dad was there, and I would stop by his office a lot, and I'd say, I'm here to see Dr. Bekker. Is Dr. Bekker here? And I would just come into his office, and we would have great talks. Our parents loved to read. Our house was full of books. They passed that on to us, their kids. They were in multiple book clubs. I know that some of their book club friends are here today. When my son Matt was sick with the chicken pox, Richard and I had planned a trip, kind of a dream trip, to see Steely Dan in Las Vegas. And I said, well, I can't go. Matt's sick. And Dad goes, oh, Deanne, that's the best time to leave. So they kept the kids, and Dad took Matt down to take baths in their downstairs bathroom, put calamine lotion on him, and they took care of them. In 1999, we were able to go on a trip with them to Europe and share with my mother-in-law, Margaret, and my husband, where he's from, my husband in Vienna. And it was a really special time. Mom, Dad, his sister, Bev. I had almost daily calls with my dad over this last time. We'd talk about everything. do anything. He had knee surgery and climbed Angel's Landing with my sister within days and got in big trouble from his doctor. But he had made up his mind to do it, and he did it. He's overcome a lot physically. He's overcome back surgery, prostate cancer. He had a heart attack a couple of years ago, fell down the stairs in his house and broke 7 ribs and a bone in his back. Recently, he had a diabetic emergency that put him in the hospital, and they couldn't believe he was even functioning. So when he started declining, I just thought, no, this can't be happening. He's going to live forever. And I think he was really kind of ticked at his body for giving out before my mom's did. When life throws you curveballs, your true colors show. And when my mom's dementia started getting bad, his true colors really showed. He was her caregiver and very devoted to her and just wanted to be there with her, making sure she was taken care of. And I had several people tell me at Legacy that it's the only time they've seen someone move in with their spouse into memory care who didn't have memory issues themselves. And I know those years had to be kind of lonely for him, but he didn't want to leave her side. And no, I guess she didn't want him to leave hers either. When I first found out that he was probably going to pass away, I went home and told my husband, I said, I don't know how to be in a world without my dad. It sounds really dumb, but he's been there every day for me, and I'm still figuring that out. But I know that grief is the price of love, and there was a lot of love. He was a big part of my life, and my kids' life, and my grandkids' lives, and everybody knew that he loved him. And recently we were having a conversation, and I said, wow, Dad, I'm really sorry, we were kind of a lot. And he just shook his head and he said, I loved being a dad. One day after visiting him, I walked down my hallway, and I have pictures of my kids and grandkids, just snapshots that I try to change out very often in the hallway. And I thought, this is his legacy. He created this family, and it lives on. Sorry. You think the tears run out, but they don't. I'd also like to talk a little bit about my mom. She was very organized, and I think of my dad as the eye, and not that she was the hurricane, but she kept all those balls in the air and kept us going where we needed to go and being where we needed to be. And I swear she had dinner on the table at 5:30 every night with a balanced meal, and I never figured out how she did that. I never figured it out. And as soon as my kids were old enough to learn how to cook, they did the dinners. She kept a journal, but there were 10 years of it that she had written by hand that weren't typed up. And so I've been typing up a little bit of that. And I thought, boy, there's a lot of things about my mom I didn't know. And I remember thinking it was 1980 was the year that I started typing, and I thought, she was like 44. My son's almost 40 now, you know? And it's like she was just a baby. They were figuring out life. They were just a few years ahead of us. And they did a good job. She loved art, she loved reading, she loved travel. She loved so many things, and I feel like she was constantly doing service and constantly doing all the mom things, but she took time to do things for herself too, and I appreciate that example. They had a lot of date nights where they went to movies and plays and played cards with friends, and I appreciated that example. She also used to go roller skating every Friday with friends and did aerobics, and I never knew those things. So, she was always welcoming to my friends as we grew up. We lived right by the high school, and we would always come to our house for lunch and after school, and she kept it stocked with all the food so that everyone felt special and treasured there and that they were welcome. I remember when I started having kids and my mom was so excited with the birth of each new grandkid. And I remember Matt saying, boy, by the time I have kids, she's not even gonna care anymore. That is so not true. She celebrated every single one, and I know that they all felt her love, and her great grandchildren too. And I think that's special that they have a close relationship with my parents, because I think that's not often the case. The last few weeks have just been a whirlwind, and we've had emotional whiplash and sadness and uncertainty and fear, but there's also been some really sweet moments. Some peaceful moments. And everybody's been so supportive. My husband's been very supportive. He's actually with my mom right now watching the funeral with her. And he texted me just before it began and said, she's alert, her vitals are good. And the nurse said, I think she can hear the funeral. And they said, are you okay? And she said, nothing hurts. So I appreciate him being there for her. And I'm thankful for my kids and their spouses and my grandkids and all the support. And I'm really thankful for my siblings. We're all so very different. And I feel like we have been really unified through this time. And I love them so much. And I love you, Dad. And I love you, Mom. Love you forever.
Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow, how they grow. Consider the birds in the sky, how they fly, how they fly. He knows the lilies of the field. He feeds the birds in the sky. And He will feed those who trust Him and guide them with His eye. Consider the sheep, how they fall, where He lives. Through the paths they go across the mountains. He knows the meadows where they feed. He clothes the lilies of the field. He feeds the birds in the sky, and will feed those who love Him and guide them with His eye. who must suffer on this earth, who picked up all that he carried from the day of his birth. He was the lilies of the field. He feeds the lambs of his fold, and he will heal those who trust him and make their hearts as gold. He clothes the lilies of the field. He feeds the lambs of his fold, and he will heal those who trust him and make their hearts as gold.
I don't know how to follow that. I don't know if I can. I was doing okay until that. Thanks a lot. My talk is entitled, All My Friends and All My Girlfriends Liked My Dad Better Than Me. It's true. As Lynn said, I have had a lot of people reach out this week to me that I haven't talked to. Some since high school, some longer. One girl who I met when I was 4, my first little girlfriend down the street. We still keep in touch. Pitch me, she's a sweet, sweet little thing, and she loved my mom and dad. But it's the same thing over and over. I loved your parents. Your parents were so great. Your dad always put me at ease. Your mom was so fun. And I'm watching all of these grandkids up here of my dad. I've watched how they've responded to him too. And I knew what he meant to me when I was young. I didn't realize what I had for a long time. I grew up angry and upset and mad at the world for a long time. No one bothered to tell me I had anxiety and depression and all this other stuff, and I finally figured it out, but I was not a happy kid most of the time. But I do remember having lots of fun times, trips to California to go see my grandma Nunes, my mom's mom. And our Christmases were fantastic. And my mom and dad always complained, we don't have money for that. We don't have money for that. We don't have money for that. We can't afford that. And then Christmas, it was like, holy cow, man. You got money for this? So, yeah, and we're going to be paying for it with our credit cards until August. So enjoy it. But then when we kind of migrated out to Utah, you guys in that song. I've never heard that song before, by the way, and wow, I know he likes it. We migrated out to Utah one by one from Carbondale, Illinois, where I would not trade my childhood for anything. I wouldn't grow up anywhere else. I loved growing up there. I really did. Even when I was miserable, it was a great place. It was nice. But we all migrated to Utah one by one. Lynn went, and Deanne went, and then things kind of hit a brick wall, and then I went, and Matt got off his mission, and he's like, where's everybody going? So we decided to go to Utah too. And my mom and dad were thinking, hey, we got grandkids being born. Why are we sticking around here? And so they came out too. And so it's really kind of strange, but we never made a decision as a family to move to Utah. We just ended up in Utah. And then, we all ended up getting married. It took a little while, and then now we got a bunch of grandkids. But what's so great is that it all kind of came together. And the very first Christmas they were out here, they said, hey, come on down. We're having Christmas at our house, and you can come down Christmas Eve. And this is when I was working, and I said, well, I'm not off till midnight, but I'll come down. That was the first Christmas Eve of, I don't know how many to come. And man, we had, in the beginning, it was just Lynn's kids, and then it was Lynn's and Deanne's kids. And then Matt started having kids, and we watched these kids grow up over these Christmases, and there's tape and there's film and there's pictures, and you probably can't tell one year from the next unless you look really closely, but man, they were great. And it was so fun. And I was reading something the other day, I think Deanne might have written it, but it was like walking into a winter wonderland. It really was. My mom went overkill on the decorations. She had about, what would you say, 700, 800, maybe 7,000 nativities. There were even little ho, ho, ho Christmas towels in the bathroom. Wow. But what a great place for our kids to grow up. And when they sold their house, my kids were insistent on, no, where will we go for Christmas? Well, we can have Christmas here. No, Christmas here, yuck. We live in Arizona, and it's dirty and dusty, and it doesn't snow. So anyway, we figured out how to do it, and now we kind of go to Matt's house, and we still have the same people come. They're just a little bit older, and it's great. But I thank them for all of those memories of Christmas and so many things. And we used to go to Nauvoo every year, and that was a special place. And Nauvoo is only about 4 hours from our hometown, and so we went every fall. And we have such special memories there. My dad and I butted heads for quite a few years. I was the one that actually got him angry. Yeah, he did get angry sometimes. It's true. It was usually aimed at me. And for good reason. I was not a happy kid for a long time. But he gave me, one time I came to him and I said, Dad, why am I so angry? Why am I so mad? Because I didn't know. I did not know. And I said, I think I'm going to take some anger management courses. And he said, no. Rude. Really? But I said, I can't get over these anger feelings. I don't even know what I'm at. He said, anger is not an emotion. Anger is a reaction. Anger is a reaction. And I'm like, what? Of course anger is an emotion. No, it's not. It's the one time that he actually listened to me and didn't say, well, maybe you could try this. Maybe you could try that. He actually said, no, there are underlying things going on with you that you have got to deal with. And so that's when I started figuring out some other things. Okay, well, what's making me angry? And what's making me sad? And what's making me, lash out at times where I don't understand why I did that. And it took me a long time to figure that out. And it took a lot of pain and it took a lot of tears. But I did figure it out. And I'm a much more mellow person today. And I can't imagine where I'd be without my dad. I can't. And I tried to keep up in contact with him. And just recently, about 3-4 months ago, I thought, I really want to keep in touch with him because everybody says, don't wait, because you wait and then it's too late. And so I sent my dad an email back in March or April, and I said, hey, we should do this a lot. My mom sent handwritten letters, like 7-page letters to her mom every week to California and back. And they did this the whole time we lived in Carbondale, 20 years. I'm like, well, if she can do that, I can do this. And I said, I would really like to start making this a regular thing. What do you think? And he said, I think it sounds great. Let's do it. That's the last time I emailed my dad. But it was a good email and it was a good back and forth. And I want to just say a couple of other things. He did things that were extraordinary for us. We mentioned he was a Cardinals fan. Well, in 1982, the Cardinals were in the World Series. And he said, hey, I put my name in the lottery to see if we can draw tickets, to see if we get a chance, to see if we can maybe buy tickets to maybe go to a World Series game. We're like, okay, thanks, Bob. He got tickets. And Matt was a much bigger Cardinals fan than me. I was a Cardinals fan, but I like to rub Matt's face in it, so I became a Dodgers fan, even though I really wasn't a Dodgers fan. But Matt went to the first game, and they got walloped 10-0. And then I got to go to the second game, and these were both in Busch Stadium in St. Louis. And the Cardinals did really well, and they won the game. And they went to Milwaukee, and they came back, and they were down 3-2. And then it was Lynn's turn. And so, Lynn went, but my dad took Lynn and Matt. And then there was a big rainstorm, and he ended up watching the game at Sears on the TVs or something, and they got to go, something like that. But then it was my turn again, and it was Game 7. Winner take all. It's Game 7 of the World Series. And he said, so it's really your turn. You want to go? And I said, that's Matt's team, Dad. I said, and it's the first time I really stopped and thought, I shouldn't go to that game. It should be Matt. That is his team. And I said, no, let Matt go. Let Matt go. Now that I wouldn't have done probably even a year before, until I learned a few things. Until I learned, even though Matt and I fought and fought and fought until he punched me back one day, and then we were best buddies, and then he left on a mission, which I'm still angry about. Proud of, but angry about. But yeah, Matt got to go to Game 7. And I'm still happy that I did. I really am. But my dad instigated all of that. And I tried taking Jackson to Game 7 a couple of years ago for lovely Arizona Diamondbacks, and they just didn't really quite finish off the way the Cardinals did that year. They won, by the way. Milwaukee still has not. Sorry, Milwaukee. But I have lots of memories of my dad. When I first moved out, I'd come home and he'd be there watching baseball games. And sometimes I would sit down and I'd watch a few innings with him. And that was always peaceful. I'm going to miss my dad so much. My mom and I had a much more complicated relationship, and we struggled. But I am so much like her. I am so much like my mom. I have the Nunes genes. I can be bullheaded and I can be a pain. But I worry like every other Nunes and her. And I am just as big a worry wart as she is. And I just want my dang kids to be safe. And I love her so much. And I'm going to be sad when she's gone. Really, we lost her 10 years ago. And I miss talking to her because she has done so much for me. And I know I'm over time, so I'm going to be quiet now. But I have wonderful parents. I was blessed. I am so blessed. So unbelievably blessed. I can't speak to any more to it. And it seemed like, I think Deanna said, they were like super people. They were just going to keep going. They weren't going to die before us. But this is a celebration of life. I did not want to go to my grandpa's funeral. I'd only been to one, and it was a young girl who I was friends with, and she was 21, and it was tragic. And I'm like, Dad, I don't want to go to another funeral. And he said, this is Frank Nunes. He's 92 almost. He's lived a full life. And what a guy, huh? And then I got mad because they were serving food. I'm like, Dad, they're serving food. This is a funeral. No, it's a celebration of life. We're celebrating Frank's life. It's okay. Enjoy it. So that's what I'll say to you guys. Enjoy it. Thank you.
A few years ago, we were in Switzerland on a research sabbatical, and while we lived there, we took a short trip to Paris. At one point, we talked about going home, which meant the rental in Paris. We also had our rental in Switzerland, which we called home. And in a few weeks, he knew we would be returning to Utah, home. When I woke up in the middle of the night last night, I realized that the hardest thing about losing both of my parents is that I'm losing home. The most peaceful and inviting place I've ever known because my parents were in it. And that's probably why when I woke up, I went to go sit with my mom to try to get the rest of these thoughts together. Although this time she didn't get up and help me type this paper that I had procrastinated. She didn't make a meal for me. She didn't clean up my mess. She didn't read to me. We didn't play a game of rummy. She didn't get up and drive me somewhere that I had to be, or make a bowl of popcorn and throw a half of it on the floor for the dog while watching an old movie. But she was still there. And although I couldn't understand her mumbling, it was nice to hear her voice. And of course, that's what I'm going to miss the most. She never missed a week writing to me on my mission. And these were not short letters. I knew every item on the table they had for lunch last Wednesday. But they kept me connected to home. My mom was a worrier, especially about her kids. One night I was out with my brother and one of his friends, and we decided we'd play some stickball in the mall parking lot until 3 a.m. This is small town Illinois. You can do that sort of thing. Completely wholesome evening, but we stayed out till 3 a.m. and she had no clue where we were. And when we came home, she was sitting on the edge of the bed and she gave us the stare of death. We thought she was overreacting, but of course it was just because she loved us so much. And I feel bad for adding that stress to her life. I've told her that so many times, but I don't know, maybe that's why she's hanging on for an entire week. We made her tough. My dad, I just want to say that he lived the gospel of Jesus Christ through his actions and interactions with people. He was an unapologetic advocate for the underdog, the poor, the downtrodden, the abused, the underprivileged, the misfit, the depressed, and the anxious. And he was gifted at helping people in any situation see their worth. My favorite sermon I ever heard from him is that nothing any person can ever do will change their worth. We are of infinite worth to our Father in heaven and his Son. Just a couple of favorite memories from my dad. Todd, the 7th game of the 1982 World Series, one of the tops, so thank you. 13-year-old kid with his dad gets to see his favorite team win the World Series. I mean, come on. He was a musician. He loved music. He passed the love of music on to me. But listening to him sing "Brightly Beams Our Father Mercy" in a quartet on my mission was one of the tops. One of the last things I'd like to share about both my parents is during COVID. That awful, deadly, stressful, difficult time for everyone. Where did we want to be? Home, 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 home. We would go to their backyard and have some of the most meaningful and inspiring sacrament meetings and family meetings we've ever experienced. Thanks, Mom and Dad, and we'll see you in home, 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 home. While the grandkids and great-grandkids are coming up really briefly, Little Purple Pansies was my dad's favorite prime. You can start coming up. Little Purple Pansies was my dad's favorite primary song. And we had the opportunity to sing that almost every week with my parents for family home evening. So I'm looking forward to this. It's very short. Thank you for bearing with us.
Like some purple pansies touched by yellow gold, growing in the garden of the cardinals. We are very tiny, but must try, just what's want to gladden you and I.
I think you're now running to share time with the grandchildren and others that might want to share remembrances or memories. Is that correct? Okay, so go ahead, grandchildren. You're welcome to come up.
I'm Matt and Kathy's daughter, Sarah, but I just wanted to share a quick memory about my grandma and grandpa. When I was 15, I went to Ghana on a service trip, and I was struggling with my depression, probably the worst it's ever been. And I was feeling just really isolated and alone. And even though I was on the other side of the world, my mom texted me and told me that my grandpa was waiting to call me. And so I went out in the backyard, and he just sat on the phone with me and talked me through how I was feeling. He was always there to give therapy to any of his grandkids who needed it. And he just talked to me and was able to get me through the rest of the trip. Another favorite thing was that all of our neighborhood friends kind of treated him like a bonus grandpa as well. And he gave all the girls that were our age M names. I only remember 2 of them, but he called Mary Maryland and our friend Grace Murgatroyd. And I don't remember the rest of them, but we all had M names. And my grandma, when I turned 12, she gave me her copy of Little Women. And she gave me her journal entry from the day I was born, in which she chronicled in detail how mad she was that my mom left the hospital before she could come and see me in the hospital. And she had to come after she did tutoring and got her hair done to see me at my house. So I was just very blessed with my grandma and grandpa, and I love you guys.
I'm Brian. I'm the eldest grandchild. When I was born, they lived in Illinois, and what Grandma told me is that when they would come visit Utah, she would cry all the way until Green River, because she couldn't stand not being with her grandchild. What I think is great is little did she know that soon she would reach a time where she barely went a day without interacting with her grandchildren. And I think what we're hearing is every grandchild feels that they were the most special, and I think that's awesome. We all think we're the favorite. But like what I've learned that their greatest legacy is this became because they invested in family and taught us to invest in family. And that's really what their legacy is going to be. Thank you.
My name's Dylan. I'm Todd and Tanya's son. One thing that a lot of grandchildren will mention is how special their house was and how much of a calming presence it was. And one specific instance where I remember that is when I left on my mission almost 10 years ago. My parents dropped me off at the airport in Arizona, and I flew to Utah, and my cousin picked me up, and we had about 45 minutes to kill. So we went to my grandma and grandpa's house right before I left. And I remember thinking in the car, if there's one thing I really want right now, it's a toasted cheese from Grandma. And I got there, and the first thing she said is, "Do you want a toasted cheese sandwich?" And I was like, "Yes, I really do." And I had my sandwich, and I left the MTC, and I just remember thinking on the car right there that I'm really happy that, right before I entered this big new phase of my life, that I got to see my grandparents and have a toasted cheese sandwich from Grandma. And I love them, and I love how calming and their house was, and their love for me and for my parents and siblings and cousins, and I love them.
One thing I really loved about my childhood was that I got to grow up around the block from my grandparents. So anytime I wanted to see them, I could just go around the block and pop in. They didn't care what time of day it was, what was going on in their lives. They just sat down with me and gave me some cookies and candy. And I remember when I was really little, we would have family home evening every Monday night. And I was like, why are Grandma and Grandpa not here? And so I hid behind the couch and I called them up, and they showed up at the front door, and my parents were like, okay, come join family home evening. And it just kept happening week after week. And they didn't know what was going on. I would just call them up. They had to be there. I'm so grateful for them.
I'm Megan. I'm Todd and Tanya's daughter. One thing that I remember about my grandma is when I was younger, when my parents would go out of town once a week for their anniversary, my grandparents would come to watch us. And there was one time that I was cooking something in the microwave, and I would stand right in the front of the microwave and stare at the microwave. And my grandma, this happened multiple times, she would be like, don't do that. And she's like, you're gonna get microwaves on you. And so she just really wanted to protect my skin or from radiation, I don't know. But every time I'm cooking in the microwave and I'm standing in front of it, I think about that and I take a step back. And then my grandpa, his birthday is the day before mine. So when I think about, I don't know, when I'm trying to calculate age, my grandpa's always been 70 years and a day older than me. He's the 19th and I'm the 20th of December. I was supposed to be induced on the 19th, but the doctor didn't want to work on Sunday, so I got induced on the 20th. But sometimes when people ask me my birthday, I still want to tell them it's the 19th. One time, a year or two ago, I texted my grandpa happy birthday, and he texted me back happy birthday, and he just ended it with, I hope you are happy with what you're doing. And I think about that a lot. as well. And I'm really grateful for them and to have learned from them.
Grandma and Grandpa always loved children. When we bought our first home, it happened to be just a couple miles from their house, and when we had our first daughter, Macy, we would go over and I would help Grandpa do his yard work while Grandma would watch Macy. And those are precious memories to me now, because I remember mowing the lawn, and her favorite thing to do would be to go rip the flowers out of the garden, and Grandma would let her, and then throw apples at me while I was mowing the lawn. And it was, and they let her, and they had fun. And as they've aged, and grandma's been dealing with her condition, every time I bring my kids in there, she just lights up, because she still loves kids. And we're thankful for that.
I'd like to talk about two things about great grandma and DeMoyne. When DeMoyne was like, we would always, like, every Halloween, no matter what, we'd always stop there and go say hi, and we'd always take a photo no matter what, and we'd stay for at least 12 minutes, and we would always like talking about how our Halloween was going, and I always loved having the candy there, because he always had like gummy bears and stuff, and that's one fun memory I've had of him. And another fun memory I have with great grandma is, like my dad said, when great grandpa was too old to mow the lawn, my dad would go mow. And while we mowed the lawn, we'd take so many apples and so many flowers, and sometimes I even made a little crown for grandma out of flowers. And I took the apples and we throw them at the apple tree, and like as hard as we could. And sometimes might have thrown them at my dad sometimes. But those are just some funny memories I have with
them. My dad talked about our Christmases at Grandma and Grandpa's house. We grew up in Arizona, so our Christmases, our winter breaks were always go to Grandma's and spend Christmas there. And that was definitely my favorite memory with both my grandparents, is spending Christmases at their house. We had a lot of, you've heard a lot about the house. Really quick, I just wanted to read a poem I wrote about their house. It's not that long, but if it was, I'm the favorite grandchild, so it's okay. Okay, I never got to read it to them, so I wanted to read it now. It's a little blue house with a porch swing in the morning. It's seeing the front window where the snow was storming. It's still being able to hear the front door opening. It's an upstairs office for Grandpa's workspace. It's putting your feet up on that secret wooden case, and snowy 2 a.m. arrivals to the cozy fireplace. It's chatting on the couch by the wall of ancestors. It's going out to the fridge with soda and popsicles, and reunions, and with parties and card games and sleepovers. It's our favorite floral couch and a squeaky red chair. It's bookshelves and bedrooms and secrets upstairs. It's a jar of pennies and a weird yellow chair. It's Grandma who always had to go to the loo. It's not one Christmas tree, but two, and they always stocked Oreos and licorice for you. It's the yard for dances and climbing big trees. It's Grandma making toast and Grandpa his famous grilled cheese. And it's a baby TV for New Year's Eve. It's the circle on Christmas and passing out presents. It's holiday dinner with cheese ball and yummy refreshments. It's the guaranteed feeling of Santa's presents. It's a reunion of family and a puppy named Peppy. It's Christmas Eve PJs with just our family. It's the place to escape and feel the most happy. It's back to home base, the meeting spot, the clubhouse. It's back when I lived without a shadow of a doubt. It's my favorite memories and best friends at Grandma's house. I loved our house, but it's not because of the house or anything that I talked about in the poem. It's because of Grandma and Grandpa and how welcome they made everyone feel and how happy we all are at their house. I was always the happiest as a kid at their house at Christmas time, and I'm grateful for that.
I'm Catherine. I'm lucky enough to have married into the Bekker family and been able to have Anne and DeMoyne as some awesome extra grandparents. And this paper is about 8 years old. Jeremy's been carrying it in his wallet since it's from some of our old rummy games, and Grandma has lost a lot of her words now, but these are some of her words.
We wanted to give them back to her.
So this is a list of things that Grandma would often say, especially during rummy games.
DeMoyne,
Holy cow!
a snot nose,
Heidi ho and a he he he.
okie dokie pokey Loki. You Doherty rat.
Oh man!
Man alive.
We already heard this one.
Yeah.
Nothing goes with nothing.
Then poop diddles,
Oh, wax!
crumb bums,
Shoot the gun! Shoot the gun!
honky tonks, and little kitty cats.
Hi, my name is Vincent, and I love when I go trick-or-treating at Grandma's house and Joe, and they always light up when they see me. And I know the taste of all of me even when they die.
Benson's a hard act to follow, but I just wanted to come up and talk about really the sense of humor that my grandparents had, and they always would, instill it in us that it's good to crack jokes, it's good to laugh, and I fondly remember they had a VHS tape of Hold That Ghost with Abbott and Costello, and every time we went to their house, we would grab that VHS tape and watch it, and just really set this sense of humor in me from a young age. And I've never met a funnier person in my life than my grandma. She would always just have a joke to crack, and it was in Grandpa too. They loved their brightness and their sense of humor. It was really foundational for me.
Hey, I'm Mackenzie. I am Lynn's daughter. Scary up here. Speaking of sense of humor, I wanted to share a memory I have with my grandma. So at Gardner Village, there's this thing called Witches Night Out, where everybody dresses up as witches and you go shopping. There's always little witches and little activities and things to do, and one of those was a witch cackling contest. And I remember being so proud of my grandma because she doesn't like to be in the spotlight, but she let out her best witch cackle, which is unbeatable, and blew everybody's socks off. And I was so proud of her. special memory I have with my grandpa. Our family would sometimes go to the Grand Canyon, and we had a little family reunion. And I remember we were at I don't even know where we were, North or South Rim, and watching the sunset, which is just like an incredible experience in itself, watching the walls of the canyon light up. My grandpa had this really special, like, calm, wisdomous aura around him at all times. I remember watching the sunset, and he was beside me, and he just kind of leaned over and said, "Oh, it's a wonderful world, isn't it?" And that was just like a perfect little moment that I have captured. Just so grateful that they were my grandparents.
I'm Jackson. I'm Todd and Tanya's youngest son. Something I really remember. Sorry. Something I really remember a lot from my grandpa is, I mean, I didn't really see him a lot because we live far away in Arizona, but every time I did see him, he was always wondering what I was up to, what I was doing, and what any of us were doing with our lives. And it was like he was just always really truly interested in what we were doing, and not just like a typical like, "Oh, how are you?" and see in a while. It was like he really wanted to know what all of us were doing. I think it was cool that he stayed that invested with all of our lives. As for my grandma, it's kind of basic, but I think it's cool how much she just wanted to please her grandkids and whatnot. I just remember when I was like really little, like 5 or 6, and we would go to their house for Christmas. All I wanted to do was just play with the magnets on the fridge. That's all I wanted to do. And so every year for Christmas, she would give me a little pack of magnets and just say, "Oh, now you can go home and play with these on your own fridge." I never wanted to play with the magnets on my own fridge, though. I just wanted to do whatever on their fridge. It's kind of basic, but I thought that was nice.
I'm Brooke. I am Lynn's oldest daughter. I wasn't going to share this because I didn't want to throw my mom under the bus. I'm not. But Deanne shared that she went on a trip to a concert when her kids were sick and dropped them off at grandparents' house. And I can't remember how old I was, but I had a raging fever and strep throat, and my mom had plans to go to San Francisco. I want to say to see Tom Petty. I might be making that up. And the solution was to go to Grandma and Grandpa's house. And even with a raging fever and strep throat, I was so excited to go hang out at Grandma's and Grandpa's. And it was probably an excuse to eat extra ice cream. And it just defines how wholesome their house was, that even when we were sick and their kids had other things to do, they would take care of their grandkids. And it was kind of a fun time. One of the other memories I have is when I was 18 and got my wisdom teeth out. I was still completely numb and swollen, and we stopped and got milkshakes and went straight to Grandma's, whether it was on the way home or I requested it when I was waking up from anesthesia. I don't know. And I also couldn't decide between the Frosty Float or the new Vanilla Frosty, so I got both because that's the kind of person my mom is because of the way her parents raised her. And my mom told her not to, but she still made me a toasted cheese, even though my mouth was numb. And I took a bite and I lost it because I couldn't feel my mouth. And I just remember cracking up with my grandma because I was still out of it and touching my numb face and just being comforted, even at our times of being sick. They just always made everything better. And they've just been such great examples of how to be so welcoming to everybody and loving to everybody that comes in contact. I'm going to miss them.
I'm Braden Bekker, Matt's oldest. I remember in high school we got back from a trip and I came home with a piece of artwork from the Matterhorn, and my grandpa took it to his favorite person to help with matting and framing of pictures, and got it with some museum glass on it, and spent a lot of time at Christmas telling me how to care for the glass. And I'm sure he spent far more on the matting than the small piece of artwork was worth. But I loved that he took the time to share something that he loved when it overlapped with something I loved. And I just felt that he really cared for me at that time. Memory of my grandma. In high school, I'd caught up in Doctor Who to the current season, and the episode every week came out at the same time as one of their shows. So my grandpa set up the DVR to record it every Wednesday, and then my grandma would set it up downstairs along with a bowl of popcorn and treats. And I'd ride my bike home from high school and stop by their house, and she'd have this movie set up for me to watch my episode for the week, and I just felt really loved by her.
That was fun. We got one more. It's even going to be, it's continuing. The fun continues.
Hi, I'm Abby and this is Tommy. As we've all realized this week, Grandma's very stubborn and put us all in our place. And I'm grateful to have inherited some of that stubbornness, as anytime anyone will interrupt me, I will not continue what I was saying and I'll say or forget, and you're like, stop being like Grandma. And I will never stop being like my grandma. So let's see.
Thank you again to the Bekker family for sharing these two great disciples of Jesus Christ with us, and helping us to get to know some of the parts of their lives that we weren't familiar with. So thank you for that, and sharing these memories and the things that you admired in, again, these two great disciples of Jesus Christ. One thing I enjoyed, again, in a high priest group setting, when we had that kind of a meeting, and DeMoyne was one of the instructors. And he had, of course, a gift in teaching and a gift in the way that he taught. And it would help you think. And, of course, we all loved his kind of a chocolate milk voice, right? Or maybe it was a dark chocolate milk voice that he had. It was beautiful. And of course, I do miss that. And I miss Anne's laughter, her brightness, her voice as well. I'm going to hold on to those memories. But I appreciated how DeMoyne would help us think, and he wouldn't necessarily spell it all out. He let us keep researching, keep learning, and pointing us to the source of truth and testifying of that source of truth. I think as they have lived now 8 full decades, or almost 8 full decades, if you average them, I guess we're really close, right? Or is it 9 by the time you hit 90? Yeah, how about that? You've had 9 decades at that point. Math is tough, right? But I think that what they would want to share is they would want you to continue to feel that love, and all of us here. What a wonderful reunion of friends and family, and all associated with love and eternity. I bear testimony, and I know that they would do the same, of a surety of a resurrection, a glorious resurrection No more depression. No more pain, dementia, but a glorious resurrection. I bear testimony of that through a living, resurrected, glorious Savior who will wipe away all tears. He can wipe them away now, and he will wipe them all away in eternity. I'm grateful for these two good mentors, these wonderful matriarch and patriarch, and that they adopted many of others, not just those in the direct line, the same DNA, but many in a neighborhood. And so grateful for their example and mentorship and testimony. Again, I share my testimony that he lives, the Savior lives, and we will all live. And and I think that we could, or that DeMoyne and Anne could, with Jesus, say, "Come, follow me." I think we do well to follow the Savior, certainly, and we've got good help here close by that we can call on, that we've seen and witnessed in our own lives in following the Bekkers, in following him. So grateful for, again, the thoughts that were shared and sharing these two good people with us. I pray again that heaven will be near and the Holy Ghost will be there to comfort and guide and help in the coming days and on those anniversary days. We will conclude by singing hymn number 308, Love One Another. And the benediction will be provided by Tanya Bekker. The dedication of the grave will be offered by Matt Bekker at the Orem Cemetery, and express gratitude again to all who have helped prepare for these services and the luncheon, and of course the funeral service home, the Wheeler, Sundberg, and Olpen mortuary. Again, singing hymn 308 and benediction by Tanya Bekker.
Our dear Father in heaven, we are grateful for the opportunity we have to be together to celebrate the lives of Anne and DeMoyne. We're grateful for their influence that they've had on our lives and for their legacy of family and love. We are especially grateful for the example of love that they have shown us over these past few years and diligently serving each other and showing love in action. We are grateful for the gospel and for the knowledge that we have that death is not the end, that existence continues, and that we can be together again. And thank you for, or please bless and thank you for the influence of their lives on us. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Would the congregation please arise? And those who are asked to serve as pallbearers, if you will meet the mortuary service people outside the doors. Oh, yeah, outside the door here on the east side. If you'll gather out there, they will bring the casket out to you there, and we'll join one another at the cemetery. Family, perhaps it's easiest for you to go ahead and go first, and we'll wait. Thank you, brothers and sisters.